That Terminator is out there. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
During my recent toy hunting trip to Japan, I made my first ever purchase of Mafex action figures. And this trio of Terminators includes Arnold Schwarzenegger's T800 from the original 1984 film, the T800 endoskeleton, and the T800 cyborg from Terminator 2, Judgement Day. I've wanted to check out Mafex action figures for quite a while, especially since they always seem to turn up on everybody's top 10 figures of the year list. For those of you in my audience who aren't aware, Mafex represents a boutique import line of high quality premium action figures made in the 1/14 scale, so they are slightly smaller than the more common Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified and Valorverse Action Force and that kind of thing. And Mafex also produces other licensed movie characters as well as a number of superhero action figures. The reason that I chose a bunch of Terminator action figures for my first Mafex purchase is because I'm a very big fan of the first two films, and I've never really had the opportunity to discuss the Terminator franchise on the channel before. So let's check these out and we can work out together if they're worth collecting.
Come with me, toy fans.
The 600 series had rubber skin. We spotted them easy. But these are new, very hard to spot.
Being very new to Mafex, I have absolutely no idea in which order these figures were released. So I've decided to go through them in this video in the order in which they appeared in the films, starting out with the first Terminator from 1984. I'm not going to bother discussing the packaging here because I really feel like these figures were meant to be taken out and displayed. And let's be honest, who really needs to see another YouTube host point out where the legal jargon is on an action figure box? It's just lame.
Fuck you, asshole.
The sculpting here is particularly impressive, with all of the little details crafted into the jacket and the boots, and Mafex have really nailed Arnold Schwarzenegger's likeness. Yet what impresses me the most about this Mafex action figure is the articulation. While it may not have the same range of movement as a modern day Marvel legend, do you really need to put Arnie's T800 into a superhero landing pose?
Underoos!
What I like the most about this articulation is just how well it's hidden. And even though I've experienced drop-down hips before, I've never experienced drop-down shoulders. And this is very useful when getting the Terminator into some weapon-firing poses. The almost seamless integration of the articulation here is really what makes these figures stand apart from the other kind of 1/12 scale modern figures that I've collected in the past. But I do have one small gripe, and that is the toe articulation on the leather boots. While I'm sure it is very useful for getting some dynamic posing, this is the most notable area where the articulation on the figure detracts from the actual sculpt and the overall look and appearance of this character on your display shelf. In the accessory department, we've been given no less than 5 weapon accessories, including
The 45 long slide with laser sighting, the Uzi 9mm.
You know your weapons, buddy. Any one of these is ideal for home defense.
along with the nickel-plated revolver that the character uses towards the climax of the film, where the Terminator is chasing down Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese on a motorcycle. But the real standouts here are the assault rifle and the shotgun that the Terminator uses in the police station shootout. And this is my favourite way to display this action figure. It is arguably the most iconic Arnold Schwarzenegger scene in that original 1984 film, where we truly get to see how menacing and devastating the Terminators can actually be. And with his dark sunglasses and dual-wielded weapons, this action figure perfectly captures the terrifying nature of that character that we first witnessed in 1984. In addition to the weapon accessories, we also get multiple hands and multiple heads. A total of 5 different pairs of hands have been provided here, but you should note that they're all wearing black leather gloves that cover the fingers, even though Arnie wore fingerless gloves in the first half of the film. Out of the box, this action figure sports the sunglasses head, depicting his appearance in the middle part of the film. But this can be swapped out for another sculpt of Arnold Schwarzenegger's face that has the hair from the first part of the movie. And of course, this really works well when the character is wielding the 45 long slide with laser sighting, or the Uzi 9mm. The only downside is that Arnie had some significant costume changes in the movie that don't match this head sculpt. At the beginning of the film, the Terminator beats up Bill Paxton and his punk mates and steals one of their outfits, and the jacket is significantly different to the leather jacket that is worn in the middle of the film. So while I do appreciate the inclusion of the Uzi 9mm and the 45 long slide and this face sculpt from the first part of the film, the action figure just doesn't look right when you accessorize it with these pieces. So I'm not mad that Mafex gave us those options. I'm just kind of hoping that they come out with another version of the T800 from the first half of the film where he's got that really different looking jacket on. The final head sculpt included here is easily the most detailed, and it shows the Terminator in his kind of battle damaged form after he's been run over by the semi-trailer. So while the police station shootout look is still my favourite, my second best option is this battle damaged head that shows all of the endoskeleton details underneath the torn flesh on Arnie's face.
I'll be back.
Let's now move on to the T800 endoskeleton. And while this character did first appear at the end of the original 1984 film, this Mafex one has been branded Terminator 2 Judgement Day because it comes with a couple of the weapons that we see the T800s wielding in those future Los Angeles scenes where the area has been ravaged by a nuclear war. The sculpting of this action figure is almost mind-blowing. The amount of intricate detail that Mafex have been able to pour into every limb and joint and component is just outstanding and very, very impressive. The head sculpt in particular is spot on to the T800s that we see in those movies. And I think the only thing that could have really taken this action figure to the next level would have been vac metal components, but I imagine that would have been quite cost prohibitive. The T800 endoskeleton also comes with alternate hands, and we get a total of 5 pairs. And the futuristic weaponry here, while I'm pleased they included 2, it's a shame that they are identical, where I think a better option would have been to give us 2 different weapon systems for this endoskeleton. Again, what impresses me most with this action figure from Mafex is the articulation. And just like the T800 from 1984, this articulation doesn't impress me because of its range of movement. Is that the articulation mimics the way these characters were shown moving in the actual movies. There are pistons on the inner thigh that extend and retract as you move the leg backward and forward. There are hydraulic joints at the waist and metallic cables that run from the base of the skull into the chest, and these do not hinder the articulation of the figure's head. And in this instance, I do appreciate the toe articulation on this figure, because unlike the T800 from 1984, it doesn't impede the overall look. The seam line of the joint doesn't affect the overall sculpt and appearance. However, because of the design of the feet of this endoskeleton, if you try to pose him in anything other than a straight up stance, he's going to topple over. But this is where the Mafex action figure stands come in extremely handy. And I am very, very impressed with the stands that are offered with these figures. There are no foot pegs used here. These are clear plastic stands with a variety of different arms and clamps so you can support the action figure in different ways, be it around the waist or a C-hook that supports underneath the crutch. And the variety here enables you to put the figure in any kind of pose you want, even a flying pose, which of course doesn't make sense for any Terminators, but if you want to do it, you can. And it's that variety that has made me very, very impressed with the Mafex action figure stands that are included here. Alright, now we get to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator character from Terminator 2 Judgement Day. And this is easily the standout action figure of this trio. Not only do I think this is the best sculpted action figure, but this one comes with an absolute truckload of accessories, which is probably why this was the most expensive of the 3 for me to acquire. I don't really feel the need to talk about the articulation on this figure because it is incredibly similar to the T800 from 1984. Out of the box, this action figure has Arnie wearing those iconic sunglasses that he acquires very early on in the film, along with the pistol that he also acquires in that same scene. A very nice addition to this piece is the gold box carrying the red roses that the Terminator uses to hide his shotgun when he enters the shopping mall. And speaking of the shotgun, we are given 2 different versions here. One with the lever action open and one with the lever action closed. And I really like this because it just increases your posability options with this action figure. Where the previous two figures both came with 5 different pairs of hands, this version comes with a mind-blowing amount of 11 different pairs. We have 6 pairs of gloveless hands and 5 pairs of gloved hands. The gloveless hands have mostly been designed to work with the head sculpt that has the sunglasses, as Arnold didn't wear gloves in the first part of the movie. But after arriving at Miles Dyson's home, where he rips the flesh off his right arm, the character starts wearing gloves in the movie to hide the fact that he is a cyborg. And of course this is the moment when the characters all hatch their plan to break into Skynet and destroy all the files. And they go into that building absolutely armed to the teeth. And Mafex have given you everything you need here to display your Terminator in those absolutely iconic scenes. First of all, you want to switch out the head sculpt for the one that is not wearing the sunglasses, and then have the character don the grenade bandolier across his chest. He can then be armed with the M79 grenade launcher, and this is really well sculpted. I've used this particular weapon system on multiple occasions during my service, and I can tell you that this is spot on accurate to the real thing. Yet the piece de resistance is the minigun and ammo bag. In order to display this accurately and get the character into that iconic pose where he starts firing down at the police force from the window.
That's a damn minigun!
Mafex have provided a particular pair of hands that are specially designed to hold the minigun. And with the grenade bandolier across his chest, the minigun ammo bag hanging from his shoulder, the grenade launcher slung under the other shoulder, and Arnie holding that terrifying weapon, this is an extremely accurate representation of the character from that scene. And this is how I want to display mine, because if you're going to pay all that extra money to get all of those extra accessories, you may as well use them. And this figure is loaded to the gills. The final accessory included that I am yet to mention is the tear gas launcher that the Terminator uses during their escape from the Cyberdyne building. The problem is, by this point in the film, the character is sporting some battle damage to his face, and Mafex have not included a battle damaged head sculpt here. But after picking up these 3 figures in Japan, I did some research and I quickly realised that Mafex have offered a 4th Terminator action figure. So if you do want to have a battle damaged Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 2 on your shelf, Mafex has you covered here too. The sculpting and detail on this action figure is impeccable, and this one features a lot more paint detail than what we saw with the previous 2 Arnold figures, with a very nice wash used to accentuate the wear and tear on the costume at this point of the movie. This version of the Terminator also comes with a grenade bandolier accessory, but this one has no grenades carried on it because by this point in the film Arnold was down to a single round. Mafex have also given us that grenade launcher again, but rather than going cheap and simply reissuing the same one from the previous figure, they've actually gone to the effort to add the damage to the buttstock that occurs to this grenade launcher during the fighting. The figure's left knee has all of the clothing and flesh torn away where you can see the knee of the endoskeleton underneath, and of course he is missing the lower part of his left arm, which gets torn off after the T800 crushes it in some of the machinery. So it makes sense that this figure doesn't come with alternate pairs of hands, but there is a very nice selection of alternate right hands, including one with an outstretched index finger, which looks like the one that Arnold uses to wipe away John's tears at the end of the film. In total, there are 6 different interchangeable hands included with this figure, but there is a 7th hand that can't be attached to the arm, and it's a very neat and interesting little addition to this offering. And that is Arnie's hand giving the final thumbs up as his iconic T800 is lowered into the molten steel at the film's finale. Overall, I am incredibly impressed with this selection of Mafex action figures. They have really well-engineered articulation that strikes that perfect balance between posability and displayability. The head sculpts are some of the best I've ever seen in this particular scale, and the accessories are both well made and, most importantly, extremely accurate to the movie. And they're very plentiful as well. So I'm really pleased that I took a chance on these action figures, because the experience of opening them up and displaying them and posing them was really enjoyable. Now, am I going to become a full-blown Mafex aficionado and picking up all of their pieces? Not likely. And while I have no desire to add a Sarah Connor or a Kyle Reese to this display, if Mafex ever come out with a T1000, I'm definitely picking up that bad boy.
Hasta la vista, baby.
So thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, you can click the links over here to check out some of our other modern action figure reviews. Or subscribe to the channel by clicking down here, or consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get access to hours of exclusive content. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, and I'll be back.